Hey everybody, welcome again to another episode of Ready Speaker. I'm your host Roland DeRucci, and today's episode we are looking at the movie Knock at the Cabin. This is a new suspense thriller for 2023, and it's from M. Night Shyamalan as a director. The writers are Paul Tremblay, based on the book The Cabin at the End of the World, and Mr. Knight also. M. Night also co-wrote the screenplay, and Steve Desmond co-wrote the screenplay. The stars of the cast, let's go through the cast of this fine film, is Dave Bautista as Leonard, Jonathan Groff as Eric, Ben Aldridge as Andrew, Nikki Amuka Bird as Sabrina, Rupert Grint as Redmond, Abby Quinn as Adrienne, and Kristen Tui as Wen. Those are the bulk of the. I made a little bit of noise there. That's the bulk of the cast. There's some flashback scenes and stuff like that with some peripheral characters, but I think that's pretty much where it goes. So the premise of this is that, I know some spoilers. As four individuals who represent, I guess the four horsemen of the apocalypse, come to find a family. That's Eric and Andrew and their daughter Wen. They are a same-sex couple in a cabin in the woods on a vacation, and they must make a choice. And it's a rough choice. I'm not going to give too much, but they must make a choice. To save themselves or save the world. I guess that's sort of a spoiler, maybe not a spoiler. So I know that IMDb, this has, what's the rating on this? 6.2. And I don't know. I did hear a lot of bad things about this, and I will say about this film, like I said, there's a lot of things going on, I guess, with this. I mean, the record of the director is really not, what some directors would like to be known as. He does a cameo in it, which cameos are rough. Cameos are really, really rough. I know he likes doing the Sherlock Holmes thing where they do a cameo inside the film, and it's just he always sort of stands out, and it's him. I think some other directors, when they do cameos, it's a hand, it's a quick take. And they're not really face on camera, and you're like, oh, okay, this is great. And I think that's always, sets me off a little bit, because I know it's him, and it's like a moment of why are you on this? Quentin Tarantino does the same thing, why he takes over a scene, and it's kind of annoying. Biggest critique of this film for me is it's not an actor's film. I think Bautista does a good job. I think almost everybody in the film does a good job with the script and how to work the script. I think the biggest problem for me with this film is that it's a director's film. It's a cinematographer's film and a director's film. There's all kinds of films. Some films marry everything together. It's an actor's film, it's a director's film, it's a writer's film, and it's a cinematographer's film. I think with this, it's really, the push is on cinematography and the director's vision of hey, what cool shots can we do? And that's my biggest gripe with this. It's an hour and 40 minutes, not a really long film. I don't know anything about the book, but it's again not a really long film for me. It moved. I've seen worse films. I've seen a lot of better films. I think the storytelling, taking it from a book to screen, maybe it reads better as a book. I just think that the flashbacks threw me off a little bit. I didn't really know. I know why they're going there. I know what they were doing. I just didn't understand the storytelling. I think it's probably a better TV show or a play maybe than a feature film. And that's my biggest problem with this. Again, it's not an audience film. Maybe that's a different kind of film. It's not an audience film. It's like I said, it's really made for me. It's made for the cinematographer and the director, and hey, let's just do some really cool shots. Let's do some interesting staging and everything with the film. And it just reads that way. There's some shots are even disorienting, a little distracting at times, because it's really just for the cinematographer. I don't know if it's really for the storytelling. It's supposed to do something with the storytelling, where you place a character, how they interact. There's moments there, and like I said, I think the acting is okay. The acting is really, really okay. I have no problem with the acting. I think was it Andrew and John? That's Ben Aldridge and Jonathan Groff played Eric and Andrew. I think they play a great moment, a great couple in it. I think everything's really believable. Even Batista, I actually enjoy Dave Batista. When he was in Blade Runner, I think that was probably my favorite scene of that whole movie and how it opens up. But I think he has more range than people give him credit to. He's a big man, and it's emphasized in this, that his size of who he is, and he has an interesting voice and delivery. It's still a little Drax, with a lot of stuff. But I think that's just who he is, and I think we just associate it with that film, which is I guess his most popular character out there. And if he can keep that going, but I think he's doing interesting things. I think he's a good actor. He's finding his way. He's finding his moments. He has some really powerful moments in this. You have Nikki Amuka-Bird as Sabrina also. Some good solid moments in this. When the child in this, and Shyamalan likes having children in his films, and I think maybe because they're not easy. It's a different kind of directing pattern with them, and what they can give back to the film is always very interesting with children. And he does, I think, cast well when he casts kids in his films, for the most part. Not looking at Airbender, Last Airbender. Let's not talk about that. But I mean, we all thought about it. But let's not talk about it. So there's some really interesting moments. There's some good acting scenes. There's some honesty with the actors in it. I think. Just the positioning of the camera, it's to me, I kind of got pulled out of the story every time. There's some unusual camera thing. And I know he likes twists in his films, and I think maybe the twist here is the way he's shooting it. I don't know if it's really a twist. It's pretty straightforward, the story, and it plays out pretty much how you think it's going to play out. And it's the twist here is really the way it's being shot and how it can. It just can distract. And there's certain movies like that. They're cinematographer movies. They're not really, for the actor. Revenant is a movie that comes to mind. That's really a DP movie. It's not a movie say for the acting. I know DiCaprio, got accolades for that role. But to me, it wasn't about that. It was about the cinematography. The locations, everything was a character besides him, and it has to be to balance out. And I think even here, the cabin sort of is a character. It's beautifully staged. There's some interesting lights. The ratio is interesting. There's moments of sun coming in and light hitting plants, and you see the forest, the woods. You see all these things around it, so it becomes what is the world, and maybe that's part of the storytelling. I don't know. You can't read the director's mind or the DP's mind of how they want to be, and sometimes when even when people answer questions, they do it from looking back with 20/20 vision, and they sort of decide, well, that was my choice and this is why, and they can rationalize it why. I don't know if they knew that rationalization going in, or if it would be the same reasons that they going in that they have when they finish the project. So it's not a bad watch. I'd give it I think it's a decent watch. I think his moment's a little tough. I think even at an hour and 40, it's probably a little long. I think it feels like a Twilight Zone episode with a little more gore and a little more stress. I didn't need some of the flashbacks. I didn't know if they're really relevant to me. I think or they could have been done shorter or something. I don't know. Something they were trying to reveal something about the characters, but it was really flashbacks only for the couple, and then I guess evaluating what steps they took in their lives. And sometimes that's a little weird to me, because I know life is flashing before their eyes, because they have these 4 people taking them hostage, and they have weapons and all this, and it's kind of messed up. And you have Rupert Grint playing Redmond, and he does a Massachusetts accent. That it felt. I thought it was Massachusetts. I wasn't sure if it was. So it's actually a little bit. Maybe he's got a little bit. Hang out with Mark Wahlberg for a little bit, probably get a better accent going. But every state has variables in their accent. A lot of people don't realize that we think of Boston, but Providence, Rhode Island has probably a stronger accent, and then when you move towards Connecticut, it weakens a little bit. So depending where you are in proximity, I know you said Boston, but I don't know, that you can have changing accents, especially with influences. If you exit the state and come back, and you sort of like reset yourself. So I don't give them a lot of negativity for that. Nice to see him doing work. Nice to see him doing other kind of work. Again, I think every actor did their homework. Every actor brought what they could for the page. I just think the editing, and maybe it's an editor's film, where they really just make the pacing the way they wanted it, and that's where the focus is. And maybe, like I said, yeah, a crew's film. Let's look at it. It's actually the crew. I think this is a film for the crew, for the director, DP, editor. The score, the tension, it's a lot over there. Casey and the Sunshine Band is in this, so I actually have a big thing for them. I love hearing their songs. So that's actually made me smile when they were playing Casey and the Sunshine Band. I think Boogie Shoes, I think that's what it is. And I think I even had that 45 when I was a kid. So there's some interesting things here. I think some of the dialogue could have went somewhere else. I think delved a little bit deeper into the fact that this couple feels that they're being attacked because of their relationship, and they feel like they're always being attacked. That's probably more in depth in the book. Maybe I'll give the book a read. I don't know. I think people should give the book a read on this and see how true it is to the story and what the message is in the book as opposed to this film. In the film, it just reads very biblical to me. That people must make a sacrifice, and why they're chosen is arbitrary of who makes a sacrifice. It doesn't really delve into that. It doesn't go beyond the God thing, and that's what it is. It's God dictating who gets chosen, and they must make a choice. Otherwise, the rest of the world goes. Which I guess that jives with like biblical teachings, right? I mean, the New Testament and Old Testament. I guess Old Testament, where God just picks on who has to sacrifice somebody, and that's actually what it is. It's Abraham, right? Where he's deciding. I guess is it Abraham or whatever. It's deciding which son to off, and that's that dilemma. Do you divide the child? Do you give one child? Or Sophie's Choice, another film where you have to decide life and death for the greater good, and who do you choose? So that's the choice here. So it's not a new story. It's another telling of an old story. Again, I think the telling is really a favor for the DP and the director and possibly editing. I just don't see it. Even though the actors did their work, I don't know if they really made the actors shine in this as consistently as they could have. So give it a watch. I wouldn't say avoid it. If you like Batista, you definitely watch it. And like I said, even the other actors, I think they all did a really, really commendable job. I felt, and same-sex couples are hard to play in films because I think sometimes people are wary of how involved they can be in it, and because people get turned off by a lot of things, and I think this one actually I felt that it was one of the most honest depictions of a same-sex couple that I've seen in a long time. Without making it jokey, without making it too much or over the top. I think they really found a way for these two characters to meet, and the actors did a great job where they were, they were honest to each other as actors and characters, and there's a lot of trust there. You can see that. I think you can see that with all the actors in this. You can see there's a lot of trust between them. They really worked together. So I commend the director on getting them to work together. I don't know if it's all his input. I think the cast wanted to be part of this family and wanted to elevate the film to a good level, and probably on paper it reads okay. I think once it's done, it's hard because sometimes it's in the hands of the editor or the director, and their vision can evolve and change, and they can see some things that maybe weren't seen during the production or not seen because they're in it and they're not from the camera view of seeing what's going on. So give it a watch, give it a chance. I'm not going to say it's the worst thing in the world. I think it was way too much hate for what this is. Is it the best movie? No, it reads more like a TV movie or an hour episode of something, maybe on HBO, like some sort of Twilight Zone episode for an hour and 10 minutes. I think would have been fine. You could have lost some of the flashbacks. I just didn't really need to know some of that. I think so sometimes it's funny. I was just thinking about this about another film and adaptations from book or plays that come into films and where they are. In a book, the character arcs are very, very long, and there's a lot of room for development because you're in the mind of the character, and there's a lot of room to really bring things out and give the details that make a very rich character, even though you rarely even know how tall they are, but you'll feel like you know them. In a film, it's all laid out in front of you. It's just shown to you. Everything is shown to you. So, the height, the eye color, the sweat on their brow, everything. And it's shown to you. The weakness or sadness, it's shown to you. In a play, it's actually a conclusion of a story. There's very little character arc there. It's really just a conclusion. This, I didn't feel like it was a conclusion, even though it almost felt theatrical. The one setting, the one room. Actually, I recently watched The Whale, different director, Aronofsky, and same sort of setup, visually, not the storyline. Visually, same sort of setup, and with windows and sun creeping into this closed area, and what happens in that closed area with a little bit of venturing outside, but what happens in that closed area. So it felt almost theatrical, like it was trying to be theatrical and trying to make those choices of what a theatrical production would be on film. I just didn't think it was a conclusion. The story just landed a little flat for me. Maybe because I'm pretty much an atheist, and biblical stories don't really ring true for me, don't really hit home that hard for me. I really don't need to see it that much. I watched Ten Commandments tons of times when I was a kid. I think that's probably all I needed. It's a couple times Ben-Hur, all that stuff. So I think that's the biggest problem. I think the editing and the stuff, it is trying to build tension, and there is tension because of what's happening in it. But is it from the editing? Is it from the cinematography? I think it just pulled me away from the storytelling. And I think that's a weird balance you have to find. So, again, give it a watch. Try it. Who knows? This is Roland DeRucci. It's a Ready Speaker. Please hit subscribe, like below. I keep doing these sort of movie reviews. I'd like to have more people on. Maybe have a guest on, talk about a movie. We can really get into it and debate it. Convince me is better. I hate saying that. I know some people say, hey, show me, prove me wrong. It's not that. Once you discuss something, sometimes ideas come up because you verbalize it that don't come up in your head because it's just your conversation in your head. But when you verbalize it, you hear it. Sometimes you discover new things. So I'd love to have some guests on the show, and please, anybody can join, and let's make more shows. So all the best, and I like to leave every show with the thought of be happy when you live a full day. You can rest your head on your pillow, know when you live the day, and when you close your eyes, be at peace. And when you wake up, be happy you started the day. That's what I try to live. That's what I'm trying to live. I think it's a better way to live. At least being honest that we are only on this planet for a short time. Enjoy the days you can, and be happy when you can start a new one, and that's the best you can do. So again, all the best from Ready Speaker, the Roland DeRucci, saying goodbye.